Now for some good news, Mike. Maybe just, kind of what the theory here is what you were seeing on companies looking to come to the Metroplex or Dallas area pre-COVID, post-COVID, kind of what you're seeing would be wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Linda. Thank you too, and many friends of the chamber on this call. It's nice to see you all. I want to hunt. I'm going crazy as well with Zooms and Microsoft Teams. I want to be out in California and places we need to be to keep that momentum going, and we will get back there. If you think of 2019, this region was a national champion. In fact, it was our third straight year to be a national champion in terms of job growth, corporate gains. We added 128,000 net jobs in 2019. You'd had to combine Chicago, Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, and Denver, Colorado, combine their net job gain, and you still come a little bit short of what we had as one region. We'd have been the fourth largest state in job gains if we were a state. The projects in our pipeline were very strong, Fortune 500 headquarters, relo. And here's something that I think you'll really enjoy. In November 2018, Amazon said we're going to go New York, we're going to go DC, 25,000 jobs each. So if we'd have been a player in that and won a piece of that, won those 25,000 jobs, that would have been fantastic. But we were on pace by the end of this year to have won 25,000 high-end corporate jobs in projects like Allstate, Microsoft, USAA, Infosys, Uber, all of those. So we're on a tremendous pace and really a sort of a national champion caliber region, and we all know that and appreciate it. And you're a big reason why we are able to do that. Right now, we're tracking about 70 total projects on our book. Now that's early data stuff. That's projects that we're close to announcing right before COVID. In fact, we had 2 press releases done that had to be put on the shelf. We have picked up 17 projects since March 13th. That's sort of our marker for when COVID really kind of sunk in and caused a lot of folks to hit the brakes. 17 projects. Most of those are manufacturing and industrial logistics projects. A couple of those are big offices. We hosted the week of May 11th, did our best to have a virtual tour for what we believe to be a biopharma, sort of an HQ2 project for a major biopharma. And so we're seeing activity. It is not as robust. It is not as frequent. And a lot of those 70 projects, again, 53 of those were on our books prior to March 13th, and many of those have paused. They're not lost. They're not over. They're just paused. And I'm sure that paused includes rethinking configurations, rethinking a lot of things. And some of them may fall off, and we'll pick up a bunch more as companies fire back up. I think, we've got a Fortune 500 headquarters reload that should get more active this month, and we've seen some big distribution facilities. So I'm optimistic about a big rush. And some of the reasons I'm optimistic, some of them are pretty simple. We're still Dallas-Fort Worth, and we're still Texas. So we still hold this basket of location advantages that we had and we're exercising very briskly 4 or 5 months ago is still there. And we may have picked up some advantages in the last few months. It depends on what everybody's reaction to density is. Density is one thing, but there's a lot of technology to overcome that. And I agree with what was said earlier about, New York's probably going to return to be a lot like what New York was, right? Because you can impact and affect density and move people around different use technology. So I'm not sure there's going to be this huge run from density that we are hearing, just a mass out migration. I'm sure it'll have some impact, but nevertheless, this region, we're big. We're the 4th largest market in the country, but we have optionality for companies that are sensitive to density right now. You can be as dense as you want to be in our region, but you can also spread it out a little bit if that's what you want to do. So we've got nimbleness and flexibility around that, and of course, the real estate community makes that possible. You have noticed our brand as a region has elevated with tech. What Mark Zuckerberg came out and said, several days ago that, hey, we're looking for top tech markets in the country. We're going to look at Dallas, Atlanta, and Denver, and we're going to do some remote hiring, and maybe that will lead to a physical space down the near term. That's fantastic. We've worked hard as a region, as a chamber, with all of our partners to get DFW top of mind when it comes to tech companies, high end, the unicorns, the big stuff. They create thousands and thousands of jobs. And for Mark Zuckerberg to come out, do his research and realize Dallas is one of those places, would that have happened 5 years ago? Would he have said that 10 years ago? I'm not sure that he would have. So that we've got the advantage of our tech brand has continued to blossom. And I think it's going to get even stronger. Amazon sort of did the same thing. They came back here for their hiring fair. Some of these states that are source markets for us are tremendously fiscally challenged. I think I saw the other day where California is looking at a $54 billion budget deficit. We're not going to escape that. There's no doubt about it. Texas and Dallas, any city that in this state is going to be hit hard. But $54 billion, our whole state budget for 1 year is about $125 billion. So there are going to be companies that are going to say, we need just a better sanctuary type of location for the long term. And it's going to continue to drive stuff out of California. And so I think we'll be very, very busy. As soon as I can get on a plane out to California and get some meetings, I will be out there. And another thing I think we will see, Texas through all of this, I think the brand of Texas has also elevated, and the brand of our region with that. As effectively dealing with this crisis, as once again, there's Texas sort of leading the pack and doing smart things, being business friendly. That's going to benefit us. I do expect, by the way, for your team members that look for leads and everything, of course, we do some of that, but the state of Texas is going to get a lot more calls from companies. So I think we will see as a chamber a lot more deals coming to us from the office of the governor than before. We keep relationships up with site selection consultants. In fact, the first rush will be largely industrial as manufacturers and distribution operations look to kind of respond to reshoring and expansion. We'll see what that turns out. We're strong there, but so are a lot of other places in the country. I'd rather see a big rush for headquarters relocations and major offices because that's really our strong suit. There's a lot more competition when it comes to industrial. The site consultants that we know well, about 3/4 of them think that the work from home, there's some permanence to that. And I also agree, that we'll see. I don't like new normal either. I think we'll be a lot more normal in the future, depending on science and other things. But there will be some impacts. And I love the ecosystem comment earlier. I agree with that. Some of the things, that will keep me up at night. I did a list of those a couple of months ago. Things for the chamber to think about, for me to think about in terms of future economic development success. I've got 5. I'll share them very, very briefly. One thing I'm concerned about is our air transportation superiority. All right, there is no doubt that the success of Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, the success of Southwest Airlines, and the success of American Airlines is hypercritical to our success going forward. We've built on them. We've built on that strength. It adds, you all know what that adds to our ability to recruit corporations and get people and exchange cultures and have events and all that stuff here. Those 3, and I don't mean to leave out Love Field, but those 3 in particular are so critical to we got to get them through this, and they've got to make it through this. We're going to keep our strengths as we know them. Small businesses deserve a lot of attention, but you know what? I think this is a time to pay a little bit more attention to the retention and support of our major companies, our major headquarters, our major employers. They're important too. You think back in history to towns that sort of took a downturn. It was usually when that one big employer had a slowdown or was shut down or whatever happened to that town. Usually it's a result of impacts on the big side, not necessarily a loss of some small business. It's all important. And right now, small businesses deserve our focus, but so do our major employers. It's time to refresh our corporate targets. We're going to be doing that as a chamber. We know what does this environment, maybe the de-stressing of the talent issue a little bit, maybe the de-stressing of our accelerated costs that we've seen over the last couple of years as we've risen in success and prosperity. Costs have gone up, so other markets maybe we're a little bit more attractive to some of our projects, but to reassess corporate targets right now for recruitment is important to us. And then a couple of other things that I really believe are just opportune times. Education. The more we can have the ability to invest and be innovative and flexible in education right now will bear fruit not only for this year, but the coming years, and we'll do a lot to determine our economic development success 5 or 10 years from now. So right now is a great time to invest in education. It's difficult, but our talent, our young people need it, and we can emerge with a brighter shining star if we're able to figure that out. And then the last thing, and I'll be quiet, is regionalism. You know, we're a regional chamber. We work with all the communities in this region on corporate deals, and we market together and we do things together. We stay knitted together in friendship and cooperation, maybe like a pack of lions. You know, eventually there's prey on the ground, and even the lions argue over who gets the leg, but they hunt together, and we do that. And I think as our region grows and expands physically, you know, we're pushing 8 million people now. It's going to get harder and harder to maintain that regional spirit. I think that's true in economic development, and so that's also something that keeps me on my toes, and that'll be a challenge for us as we go forward if we want to continue to win. So that's just some of my thoughts, very, very rapid fire. I apologize for that, but thank you all for your support and everything you do to make economic development corporate recruitment possible in this region. We appreciate you.
Mike, do you see any, a lot of people are talking about maybe the move to the suburbs where people aren't going to want to be downtown or uptown. They're going to want to spread out and have more suburban type offices. Are the people that are inquiring about Dallas changing their view of where they want to be, or is it pretty much?
No, not yet. Not yet. I mean, we just haven't seen it. Again, we haven't seen a lot of recasting. You know, we are fortunate to get a good mix of all types. You know, we get the campus, those that want a campus. We get those that want to attract the young people and the urban talent and want to go vertical and want to go dense. But no, I have not seen anything yet that makes me comfortable about suggesting there's been a shift there. I think a lot of these projects that we work with are maybe going back to the drawing board a little bit and rethinking, and they're just trying to figure out what their employees want. But no fundamental, and that was said earlier too, mentioned a couple of times, no fundamental sort of absolute trends have shown for us. Even talking to the site consultants, you know, they all think that the density is going to be a big issue, but they can't really demonstrate how and why, and they really can't, you know, give examples, at least where we have a lot of statistical confidence in those examples of that happening just yet. But again, the strength of this region is you can go any way you want to go. You can have a campus in downtown Dallas if you want to, even, right? So I love that flexibility. And I also love, in addition to the real estate community, which is the best in the country, we've got, you know, the architecture and design community, the construction community here is second to none. So if there's any place that's going to figure it out and deliver product, you know, it's going to be us. And we'll do it in a cost-effective way, and we'll play all of our other advantages in. So I can't help but be, even though I want to get on an airplane and go hunt, can't do that like we used to do a few months ago. I'm very optimistic.
Any questions from the group?
So Mike, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. It became really clear to me when we had Dale Petrosky speak to our young professionals last week that there is an increased interest in Dallas-Fort Worth. Is there any difference between the prospects you had before COVID and the prospects that have surfaced since COVID? Any kind of metric that you could point out that's something that we could?
Yes. And of the 17 projects that have generated since COVID, most are industrial in nature. And the site consultants a few months ago would have predicted that, just a more quicker response and more of an urgency around those. But no, the mix overall is still pretty typical.
Thank you.
But prior to COVID, we had 10 headquarters. We've picked up 2 major office projects since March 13th and have several other corporate office projects. So it's nominal what we're seeing. And the volume is nominal too. I remember compiling some numbers for our DRC 2020 annual report. We were doing those at the end of 2019. We had 68 total projects of all stripes in our book of business. Now, most of you know this, but some may not. We're focused on the net new to the region. So you're not going to see the DRC. We might accidentally be pulled into something for a while, not realizing it, but we're not intra-regional. So those 68 or 70 projects are all net new to the region, but we're 70 now from 68 at the end of 2019. So activity is brisk, and I just think our region's brand and the desire for companies who want to be in Texas and have all the amenities you've got here, but at a more effective price point is very compelling and will be more so in the coming months.
Any other questions? Mike, I appreciate your time.
Good to be on. Thank you.